Hey everybody. I was reading through Genesis in my quiet time recently, and when I got to Genesis 4, I was struck again at how sad it is that there were two brothers, Cain and Abel, and one killed the other. Now, you may remember the story. Both Cain and Abel bring an offering to God, and Abel's offering was received, but Cain's offering was rejected. And rather than looking inward and then going back and offering God an acceptable sacrifice, Cain instead looks outward. He looks at his brother. He's angry at his brother. He's jealous. He's envious. He has all these emotions coursing through his veins. And God sees that. And so God says to Cain, be careful. Sin is crouching at your door. You must rule over it. Another version will say you must master it. And as you know in the story, he doesn't master the sin. Instead, the sin masters him, and he kills his brother, the first recorded murder ever. And it's such a sad story, but what it made me think of also was how Paul said over in 1 Corinthians 6 that we should not allow anything to master us. So obviously we're going to think of things that are sinful habits, sinful addictions that could master us probably, and I'm certain that's what Paul was talking about. Things like drugs or alcohol or maybe sex addiction, pornography, those types of things. But I think what we should probably think about when we read that is there anything that we've given ourselves over to that masters us? In other words, there's lots of things out there that we can give our hearts and our minds to and our attention to, our money to, that can actually begin to control our lives. And I think it's important that we look at ourselves inwardly and say, is there something that's controlling me? See, Jesus is supposed to be our only master. He said, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. John said that we shouldn't love anything in the world, but we should love only the Father, and our focus should be on him. That doesn't mean we don't love our family and friends, of course, but our focal point should be God, of course, Jesus. And so the question is, do you have anything in your life? And I think we all should look at ourselves. Is there anything in my life that controls me? For some people, it's social media. They are so addicted to getting likes and drawing followers and receiving their affirmation from social media that they wake up in the morning, it's the first thing they look at. They look at it throughout the day, and then before they go to bed, it's the last thing they check. That is something that's probably mastered that person. Other people struggle with spending because they've become materialistic, and often they think that if they could just buy the right things or get more things, that those things will bring them happiness. And so they get online and they search and they buy things sometimes they don't even need, or they go shopping a lot, and then they discover that those things really don't bring them happiness, but materialism has controlled them in that way. I think for guys, sometimes it's sports. Maybe they're addicted to their college football team or their college basketball team or pro football team, and they're constantly studying it, reading about it, reading the recruiting, reading the trades, and it just focuses all of their attention, or takes all of their attention. They focus on it all the time, even to the point where they'll forsake their family at times because they got to make sure they watch the game. And see, I think that's one of the ways we can tell if something's mastered us, if it's damaging the relationships around us. We're giving our attention away to something else rather than to Jesus and then the people in our lives. I just think we should be thinking about it. It really got me thinking, and I wanted to share it with you because I think it's important that you examine your own life on a regular basis. Has anything crept in that's kind of controlling you? I hope not, but if you discover that maybe I've touched a nerve here, let me give you several things to think about. Number one, you need to name that thing, whatever it is. You need to name it out loud so you identify it. Number two, you need to ask God's forgiveness and repent of allowing that thing to control your mind. I think you probably also need to get some help. Maybe talk to a really good friend who can be an accountability partner for you and say, I need some help in this area. This is something I'm struggling with, and I don't want this to have control over me anymore. And if you think it needs to go beyond that, then you probably need to seek some counsel, maybe wise counsel of a pastor or possibly Christian counseling. Anyway, when I read these things and they stick in my heart, I think, this is something I want to share. So I hope this has been helpful to you. I hope you have a great week ahead. And of course, I hope that you think about your own life and examine your own life in the way that I've suggested. And of course, more than anything, I just pray that you keep walking with Jesus. And I'll see you next week.